This is coming from the desk of the Liberation DJ. This is a part 3 segment of We Remember Malcolm X. We have chose to do a series of talks and discussions on Malcolm X because what we realize and what we understand that has happened is that Malcolm X has been written out of history. And that has been done intentionally to make sure that the young people, that the youth, have no knowledge or no insight of Malcolm's contribution. So it's important for us to discuss and talk about the tremendous contribution that Malcolm made and continues to make as you read and study his speeches, his works, his involvement. And so this is why we wanted to do this. I use my experience, Liberation DJ, from a talk show host for over 20 some years, where we did extensive research. We did shows on all kind of topics, all kind of discussions, did interviews. So when I do these talks and discussions, my experience is coming from the fact that being a talk show host for 20 some years, over 20 some years, we had a community based radio station here in Des Moines, Iowa, which was KUCB. And so that's my experience. Malcolm X, his thoughts and his examples and so many of his speeches give us something really to talk about and discuss. For example, Malcolm talked about that if a person is able to discipline themselves and find a new outlook on life, they can transform their behavior. And so we know that to be true. One of the things that we say and that if a person is able to do that and transform their behavior, they can have a whole new outlook on life. And we say that through our prayers, through our salats that we perform 5 times a day. That's one of the methods that can be used to transform a person's behavior, to give a person a new outlook on life. Through prayer, through salat, you can do that. The other thing Malcolm made a tremendous contribution was his concepts and ideas that helped strengthen the whole movement, the whole civil rights movement. Now, people might not want to give Malcolm the credit. They might not want to give him the inspiration for doing that. But his ability to be able to speak, to be able to talk, his ideas, his concept, it strengthened that whole movement. Because you can't have a movement and have it just one side. Because, there were so many people that was in support and in favor of the civil rights movement, but there also was people that was in support and in favor of the human rights movement, which Malcolm was an advocate for. So his whole concept strengthened the civil rights movement. Just his concept. When you listen to some of Malcolm's speeches, like the Ballad of the Bullet, which is one of his famous speeches, don't you know that whole concept of the Ballad of the Bullet? That was a way to tell people that when you had a vote, when you was able to gain the right to vote, that you make sure that your vote is aimed at a target and you don't waste your vote, but you make sure that your vote is counted and it's a good vote, and you should make sure that your vote is on target, that you just don't vote for anybody or you just don't fall for anything that comes along when somebody tell you about voting. The other concept that he talked about was the house Negro and the field Negro. He laid that concept out. Nobody had never defined the house Negro and the field Negro like Malcolm did. Nobody never defined it like that. Nobody gave us a definition like that. Nobody explained in detail about the house Negro and the field Negro. And that concept of explaining that, don't you know that mentality is still with us today? Even though that was then, but the way we act and the way we think today is still with us today. The other concept he had was by any means necessary. Now, some people want to take that and use it in all kind of ways and all kind of phrases. But that was an important concept that Malcolm gave us by any means necessary. Nobody had never used that concept